Hi, my name is Ian Pierce, and I'll be talking about the impact of electronic music engineering on society. Before I begin the tour of my site, I will address how I set up the site. I started by defining the page as an HTML5 document, then defining the character set. I then created content with the use of the paragraph tag, the heading tags, the image tags, and the link tags. I then styled all of that with CSS. This was all possible through cPanel, which helps you host your own website. My animation and logo that you see right here, as well as the banner that you will see later, were created using Pixlr. We used Pixlr to use the layering tool, as well as resizing and cropping photos. First, we'll start out with the purpose of electronic music. A. Indicate the name of the innovation and provide a clear description of its intended purpose. Electronic music is, by definition, simply music that is produced or altered with the use of computers or some kind of electronic device. It originated in the early 1900s and was a way for many composers who felt boxed in by classical tradition to experiment and break a lot of the rules. Also, producing music and creating records and eventually CDs let people enjoy music from many more locations than previously possible. It started out as something purely artistic, but moved on to more practical uses, such as background music for commercials, games, movies, and even the elevator. In these images that you see in front of you, you will see a sound editing software, and in this one, this is a very old electronic instrument. Next, moving on to the impacts, the effects and impacts. Electronic music has presented many benefits. In every single advertisement that you see on TV, there's music. It acts as something to create a mood and significantly impacts the way the audience might view the commercial and the product. Another benefit is that it made music a lot more accessible for large populations. Now, more people can listen and enjoy music than ever before. Pop, hip hop, and rap, which are all electronically processed, are more accessible to young people than jazz and classical, which dominated the music scene before electronic music was introduced. Some argue that a negative aspect of this kind of music is that it actually detracts from jazz and classical. However, jazz and classical to some extent use electronics for editing on professional recordings. Surprisingly, anything that is listened to through a speaker or a microphone or anything like that is technically electronic. This video, in which I discuss the impacts of the innovation, was created using WeVideo. I added music to some of it, as well as slides to make it flow. Electronic music has really redefined what music can be. Instead of the classical music that we're used to, Mozart, Beethoven, the stuff on the page, that sounds very nice. People started to really explore noise as music. Yeah. How do you think it has influenced society? It has really influenced the way people think creatively. Musicians especially, are a lot more creative because there are many different opportunities to create different kinds of music. It's also electronic music has had great impacts on society and culture that has become very popular. As you can see in this image right here, electronic music blogs have been very prevalent through the years. In the graph down here, which was created using Google Forms, shows that the popularity of electronic music isn't affected too much by age, as there are individuals of all age that are exposed to it. I used Google Forms to form questions that would inform me of the popularity of electronic music. As I mentioned earlier, quite literally all the music you hear nowadays is produced electronically. Uh, just like electronic music has created entire genres such as hip hop and pop, there have been entire fields of study that have been created by this introduction as well. Um, Music production, such as this, that the people that produce the music you hear in ads, movies, games, and on the radio, their jobs would not exist without electronic music. Also, the work of musicians has changed drastically. The world of music is now less about who can actually sing, but more about who knows how to process something that will do well commercially. Okay, so now on the technical aspects. The interaction between everyday people and electronic music is clear. They listen to it regularly. But it is the production, the interaction between the music and the engineers where it starts to get a lot more technical. Producers use programs like Reaper and Audacity to put effects on recorded sounds. Some effects include reverb and delay and EQ. Because of this, there has been a whole new world of sound to explore in the past 50 years, which is why new styles such as pop and rock have become so prevalent. The programs that producers use have all sorts of programs and algorithms built into them. Perhaps the most well known is MIDI. This program creates artificial instrumental sounds. If you can think of a pop sound, for example, which has string instruments in the back, it is most likely just MIDI imitating the sounds of strings. Now, moving on to the way these programs interact with data, the most obvious has to be MP3 and WAV files and how computers read those files. They are stored with bytes, just like JPEG and text files, but the computer uses those values to determine things like volume and pitch instead of colors, letters, etc. Pictured here is a soundboard, which is something you would find in most recording studios. It is what is used to edit a lot of the music you hear. Next, it is very important to address the dangers that electronic music has brought about. Today, one of the biggest means of listening to music is streaming on apps such as Spotify, Pandora, and Google Music. If you are using these while connected to a public network, be aware that there could be potentially a hacker waiting to intercept your data. This data can include your email and even credit card information. These could be at risk in a situation like this. Stay wary when using these kinds of networks. Finally, I'll let you have a look at the reference page. This page shows all of the sites that I use to research this topic. If you click on one of the links, it brings you to the websites I used. This is Encyclopedia Britannica, and this was one of the most informative to me. Thank you so much for watching this website tour. If you would like more in-depth information on this subject, please visit my website.